Chapter 7 to 9. Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand paused for a moment. With his strong will, even if he is engulfed in flames, he wouldn't frown. But now, in the Hokage's office, a single sentence from a 12-year-old branch family member of the Hyuga clan left him stunned. If it could make everyone in the village happy, that would be wonderful. No demand for more power, no craving for higher status, not even a mention of the Hyuga family. To make everyone in the village happy, Yuto Hyuga, in your subconscious is the importance of the village above all else. The Hyuga clan's teaching certainly wouldn't instill such a thought. Was this sentence specifically crafted for me, or is it genuinely heartfelt, beyond even your awareness? For the first time, Hiruzen earnestly looked at the 12-year-old branch family member in front of him. Very young, with thick calluses on his hands, indicating hard work. The Hyuga's jewel, right? Since becoming a genin, you have rarely been in the Hyuga clan's territory, spending most of your time on missions. You were only 6 when you were promoted to genin, so you haven't had much time for clan education. He suddenly thought of the genius who fought and died for Konoha, Kagami Uchiha. Even in the closed, proud and powerful shinobi clans, there are those who inherit the will of fire. Hiruzen thought of many things, but finally he suppressed all these thoughts, looking deeply at Yuto Hyuga. Yuto-kun, you may leave now. Have a good rest. Yes, Hokage-sama. Yuto bowed and exited. He made no unnecessary moves and left the Hokage building in high spirits. He had done all he could. What would happen next, Yuto couldn't foresee. A highly talented Hyuga branch member with the will of fire. How would Hiruzen handle this? If it was 16 years later, with the canon officially beginning and the elderly third Hokage nearing his end, he would likely remain passive, at most providing some secret assistance. But now, the 50-something third Hokage, a man full of ambition and daring enough to make bold moves and drastic decisions, stood in his place. Hiruzen Sarutobi, don't let me down. Yuto thought this as he headed directly back to the Hyuga clan's territory, in keeping with his usual behavior. This time, he could enter through the front gate. The Hyuga clan's grounds were extensive. The central area belonged to the main family, while the surrounding areas were occupied by numerous branch families. The difference in location and elevation of these areas clearly conveyed the deep-rooted belief that the main family is the master of the Hyuga, and the branch family must protect and serve the main family. A 1,000-year-old tradition, the concept of hierarchy, was as deeply ingrained as blood in every member of the Hyuga clan. The main family saw this as natural law. The branch family did too. Over the long years, any seeds of rebellion had long been eradicated. Yuto's home was in the southwestern part of the clan grounds, about 400 meters from the tall walls, at the outskirts of the Hyuga clan's area. But thankfully his home was quite spacious. Though not filled with valuables, his parents had enjoyed gardening, making the yard pleasant, reminiscent of a flower garden. He walked through the yard and entered the house, beginning to clean and tidy up. Yuto had been away for 18 days, and a layer of dust had settled on the tatami mats. Cleaning was a tough job, but Yuto enjoyed it. As a shinobi, he could use chakra to walk on walls, so no corner was left untouched. He cleared away cobwebs, dust, and insects. By the time the entire house was spotless, the sun was setting. Yuto lay on the grassy-smelling tatami mats, removed his forehead protector and touched his smooth forehead. He knew the hideous caged bird seal was there, painless but ever-present, like a spider spinning silk. Feeling disgusted by the thought, he shivered, got up and went to the kitchen to cook. A 12-year-old boy, even a shinobi, would struggle to make delicious food. Skilled with kunai and chakra control, he still couldn't master cooking techniques, often fumbling with kitchen tools. Fortunately, he only needed to prepare a small amount of food. After much effort, he finally made a dish of fried fish, a plate of vegetables, and a bowl of rice. The fish was slightly burnt, the vegetables overly salty, and the rice partially uncooked. Despite this, Yuto ate happily. No one in Konoha knew that when Yuto was alone, he was quite cheerful. Born into the Hyuga branch family, destined to be a slave from birth, if he were always gloomy, he would have long since succumbed to despair. As he ate, Yuto suddenly felt lonely. He quickly got up, ran upstairs to a room, and retrieved 2 kunai from a box. The kunai still had dried blood on them. These were among the few personal belongings left by Yuto's parents 9 years ago, when he was 3. That year, as a reincarnated soul, Yuto was a carefree child, full of hope despite being a Hyuga branch member. He knew the future development of this world. With the child of prophecy Naruto Uzumaki, everything would be fine with happiness ahead, until one day, his parents, as protectors, were brought back to the clan grounds, covered in blood. A significant main family member was attacked, and his parents fought desperately, nearly dying to protect them. Out of gratitude or fear of the change, Yuto clung to his dying parents, determined to witness their fate. But in the end, he didn't see them die. He was taken away with force, whips, and rules. On the day his branch family parents died for the main family, their son received the caged bird seal. The reward for the dead heroes was to mark their offspring as slaves. The date for the seal had been set, unchangeable under any circumstances, a rule the Hyuga clan took pride in for 1,000 years. When 3-year-old Yuto, clutching his forehead, stumbled towards his parents, he found only 2 cold bodies. He saw their lifeless faces and noticed their mouths slightly open as if speaking. After much thought, comparing mouth shapes and asking those present, Yuto Hyuga finally understood his parents' last words. "Yuto, we're sorry. Sorry." Sorry for what? At this moment, in his lonely, cold home, Yuto Hyuga held the blood-stained, rusted kunai and murmured, "There's nothing to apologize for. You did nothing wrong, father, mother." The next day, the sun rose as usual. Yuto woke up early. For young shinobi of his age who had just returned from a mission, a few days of rest to enjoy the peaceful days in Konoha was customary. But Yuto had already been up before dawn. After a simple wash and packing a small bag of dry food, he left the clan grounds alone and headed to the dense forest on the outskirts of the village. He walked a familiar path to his secret training spot, an open area surrounded by dozens of tall trees. The clearing was small and quite secluded. Upon closer inspection, one would find the ground extremely hard, almost like rock. Yuto retrieved a box from under one of the big trees, taking out the items inside: heavy wristbands and armor plates, a specially made dummy marked with acupoints and chakra pathway diagrams, sealed drinking water, emergency bandages, and hemostatic medicine. He put on the heavy gear, bound each finger with metal blocks, took a few deep breaths, and began training in the forest. Stepping, punching, and activating his Byakugan, every move in his gentle fist was executed meticulously. The coordination of chakra and physical actions was a major discipline. During training, if his strikes were even slightly off target, even by a millimeter, Yuto would punish himself by repeating the action 100 times. Over the years, the once soft soil of this narrow forest area had been trampled as hard as rock by him. How did a Hyuga branch family orphan earn the title of the Jewel of the Hyuga? The answer was simple: perseverance. Each drop of sweat and every punch pushed him closer to becoming stronger. A foolish method was still a method. However, despite his efforts, Yuto could clearly feel his progress slowing down recently. In his secret training ground, Yuto suddenly leaped up, darting like a bird towards the dummy. His hands moved so fast they almost turned into a blur, striking 16 key points on the dummy's chest and abdomen like lightning. After landing, he checked the dummy and silently sighed. Only 3 of the 16 strikes had fully penetrated the thick armor of the dummy. His finger strength and hand force were still not piercing or fierce enough. The so-called gentle fist was based on the Byakugan, utilizing direct attack techniques with the body and chakra. In essence, it was a hereditary Kekkei Genkai Taijutsu. Taijutsu training was a crucial part of this. Yuto Hyuga was certain that none of his peers in the village worked harder than he did. No child would forsake all fun and food to run into the forest for suffering. Despite his hard work, he hadn't made significant progress in a long time. His body's talent had been fully tapped. Yuto's physical condition was good, his chakra capacity was decent, and he was a genius, but only an average genius. As time passed and his body matured, Yuto was sure he would become a Jonin, but going beyond that would be extremely difficult. With the branch family's sealed Byakugan, limited abilities and inherent blind spots, Yuto couldn't surpass the level of Jonin. For the rest of his life, he wouldn't even see the heels of a Kage-level shinobi. A transmigrator's sweat and effort shortened the time it took to grow from genin to jonin, but absolute talent limited his potential for further advancement, unless he acquired other powerful shinobi techniques, breaking free from the limitations of the Byakugan and gentle fist. Flying Thunder God, Sage Mode, Impure World Reincarnation, Wood Release. These famous techniques, or Kekkei Genkai, were Yuto's only hope to surpass his limits. Otherwise, relying solely on the Byakugan and gentle fist, revenge would be a hopeless dream for his entire life. Even among the Hyuga main family, with an unsealed Byakugan and complete gentle fist techniques, no other Kage-level powerhouse had appeared, except for the legendary Ryusuke Hyuga, don't rush, take it slowly. Yuto muttered to himself as he completed today's heavy training tasks. After finishing all his training, eating all his dry food, and cleaning up the secret training ground, it was already evening. Yuto changed into clean clothes and returned along the same path. His life had become very simple after becoming a genin. Either he went out on missions or came to the training ground to practice, maintaining a very regular routine. As a result, he had very few friends and not many people to talk to. So in the eyes of others, although the jewel of the Hyuga was gentle and kind, he also had the aloofness of a genius and wasn't very easy to get along with. On his way back to the village, Yuto didn't feel lonely. Farmers were returning from their fields, and low-level shinobi were coming back from missions. Despite the increasing tensions among the great nations, Konoha village was peaceful and serene. People were chatting and laughing, and those who recognized Yuto greeted him. Of course, as the Third Shinobi World War approached, even Konoha would eventually be enveloped in a somber and tense atmosphere. After entering the village, Yuto headed towards the clan grounds. However, he didn't expect to see a famous trio from the manga in his line of sight along the way. "Obito, you're late again," a pretty girl with purple cheek marks and large eyes scolded a boy running towards her from a takoyaki stand by the street. "Rin, I'm sorry, I was wrong." The boy with sunglasses and a sunny smile scratched the back of his head, sweating profusely as he apologized. "I was helping an old lady cross the street. That shouldn't make you 30 minutes late. And then I helped the tofu seller fetch water and bandaged an injured kitten. I felt so bad for them." You! Rin's eyes widened. Seeing Obito's miserable look, she felt like scolding him but couldn't bear to, so she turned to her handsome white-haired companion. "Every time I wait for you, from now on you can go out on your own." "Eh? Don't be like that, Rin," Obito shouted. "We're a team that goes through life and death together. The tightest team in Konoha. Not a single one of us can be missing. Right, Kakashi?" Kakashi looked up, puzzled. "Rin, was there a fly buzzing around in front of me just now?" "Ah, Kakashi, you jerk. Stop pretending." Kakashi dodged Obito's neck hug and saw Yuto on the street. He nodded slightly at Yuto, a greeting of sorts. Yuto was a year older than Kakashi. The two were quite familiar with each other from being called out by teachers to demonstrate taijutsu at the academy. Yuto smiled warmly and greeted them. They were classmates after all, not strangers. "Yo, Yuto, you work so hard, come try these takoyaki." In the orange twilight, Obito's voice was full of vitality, like the passionate, blazing sun. Yuto had no idea that while he was leisurely returning to clan's territory, a meeting concerning his fate was quietly beginning. A highly detailed analysis report lay before Hiruzen Sarutobi. The autopsy reports of Tetsuro Sugiura, Masato Satu, Reiro Yamagata, and Eiji Hirahara had been submitted by the medical team of Shinobi. There were no suspicious points, except for Tetsuro Sugiura's fatal wound, a penetrating injury located between the 4th and 5th lumbar vertebrae, inflicted from behind with a kunai. For Kumo Shinobi skilled in lightning-release taijutsu, their fingers were the sharpest blades. Hence, the report concluded, "I can't understand why the final battle ended in close combat." Hiruzen merely glanced at it and dismissed this point. As a battle-hardened Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi had lived through countless battles, understanding well that shinobi, in the end, fought like wild beasts tearing at each other. He had witnessed two powerful jonin, when their strength waned, desperately stabbing each other with frozen fish. With the recovery of Konoha's fallen shinobi completed, Hiruzen didn't question the report of the sole survivor. Thus, the achievements of the reconnaissance squad, obtaining important intelligence and killing multiple enemy shinobi, were all attributed to Yuto Hyuga. Including previous merits, this branch family genius had accumulated significant achievements. Hiruzen closed his eyes, involuntarily recalling Yuto's words in this very office the previous day. The door creaked open, and 3 people entered in a single line. Hiruzen wasn't bothered by the intrusion and softly said, "Danzo, Homura, Koharu, you're here." Hiruzen. The 3 stood before his desk. In private, they addressed each other by name, not by titles. Every week in this Hokage office, Hiruzen Sarutobi, Danzo Shimura, Homura Mitokado, and Koharu Utatane held secret meetings. No Anbu recorded the discussions, no clan heads were present, and even Hiruzen's proud pupils, the 3 legendary Sannin, were absent. Many covert plots and decisions impacting the entire Fire Country took shape during these meetings. Hiruzen, Danzo began, with a scar on his jaw and bandages over his right eye and forehead, making him unapproachable even when silent, Strike first. Let Namikaze infiltrate Kumogakure and attack the 8 Tails Jinchuriki. We'll prepare a portable jutsu that might break the sealing technique and release the 8 Tails. Releasing the 8 Tails in the heart of Kumogakure was extreme, even in the shinobi world, as it would endanger numerous civilians. Given the 8 Tails' destructive power, casualties in the Land of Lightning would surely be in the 6 figures. Hiruzen frowned. With no outsiders present, he didn't need to maintain his noble image and seriously considered the plan's feasibility. The 8 Tails Jinchuriki has a high compatibility with the beast. A standard plan might not work. Then, let Minato take an Uchiha with him. With the Sharingan and that forbidden jutsu, the success rate of releasing the 8 Tails exceeds 40%. Danzo, do you want the world to know Konoha did this? Even if successful, other major nations will unite against us. Then let's fight. Danzo was unfazed. By then, Kumogakure will be severely weakened. Iwagakure's only notable threat is that old Onoki. As for Tsunagakure and Kirigakure, mere weaklings. Hiruzen pondered for a while, but ultimately shook his head. Too risky, facing 4 enemies at once. As Hokage, I can't risk the entire village. Humph, Danzo snorted, but hearing Hiruzen refer to himself as Hokage, knew he had decided and refrained from further argument. At this moment, the silent Koharu spoke. But war is imminent. Kumogakure is becoming restless. Iwagakure's attacks are increasing, and the other 2 strong villages are preparing for battle. If war erupts, it won't be minor skirmishes. I believe the 3rd Shinobi World War will occur within 2 years. I understand, Hiruzen said calmly, exhaling a smoke ring. Today, I mainly want to discuss this. If war engulfs the world and all 5 great shinobi villages participate, we can't rely on conventional forces. He paused, then continued. We must draw more power from the Uchiha and Hyuga clans. The Sharingan and Byakugan have significant battlefield impact. We need these 2 dojutsus. Homura nodded in agreement. Good idea, Hiruzen. Previously, the Uchiha and Hyuga clans helped but kept their core forces hidden, which sufficed for minor border conflicts. However, if the 3rd Shinobi World War breaks out, we need their full cooperation. But greater participation means greater casualties, Danzo sneered, his teeth seemingly blood-stained. If they refuse, we could use this opportunity to… Danzo, Hiruzen shook his head. We're one village. To me, both the Hyuga and Uchiha are brothers and essential parts of Konoha. There's no need to go that far. Oh? Then what do you propose? We can give them a hint. Hiruzen squinted, sharing his idea. Hint that the position of the next or subsequent Hokage will prioritize the Hyuga and Uchiha. Danzo, Homura, Koharu, don't rush. I know, it's not suitable for powerful clans like the Hyuga and Uchiha to hold the Hokage position. Thus, it's just a hint. A hint is merely an empty promise, like blindfolding a donkey with a carrot in front of it. It can smell the carrot, works hard, but never gets to eat it. The other 3 were silent, understanding the Uchiha and Hyuga clans' desire for the Hokage position. Using this to motivate them was indeed a brilliant strategy. The key was how subtle the hint was. They must genuinely feel the Hokage position is attainable, while making it easy to evade fulfilling this promise post-war. No substantial commitment, yet enough to motivate. Hiruzen didn't keep them in suspense. My 3 students, 1 from the Senju clan, and others 2 civilians. Their students also lack Uchiha and Hyuga members, which sends a poor signal, implying these clans will not be central to Konoha's core or the Hokage role for a long time. I'm old, lacking the energy to train new students, so I'll have my students select a successor from a major clan, signaling I'm not opposed to the Hyuga or Uchiha, even considering them for Konoha's leadership.